Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Today in this video, we are going to be talking about M1 Finance and creating multiple different pies within a pie. Now, I know that might seem complex, and if you just started using M1 Finance, I hope this video can help break it down just a little bit more so that way you have a better understanding. But before we get into that, if by any chance this is your first video with us, my name's Dennis, and we love talking about ways to build wealth and be more financially independent. So make sure you have that subscribe button hit down below, and then go ahead and tap that bell if you want to join the conversations when these new videos do come out. Now, when I get started with this video, I am gonna go ahead and kind of just break down what a pie is in general when it comes to M1 Finance, so you can kind of scroll ahead just a little bit if you just want to get to the meat and potatoes of, creating the pies within the pies. And also too, if you get super hungry and want to go eat a pie, let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite pie? Because I'm saying that word so many times, I now want to know what pies you like to eat. Pecan pies might be my favorite, but I want to hear what you guys have to say as well. So as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and break down what a pie is first and foremost with M1 Finance, just in case you are just getting started or want to get started. So I brought up my portfolio here, and if you're actually following me through my M1 Finance video series where I'm actually buying stocks every single week, you kind of are familiar with this and you've seen this before, but I want to break this down a little bit more. So what we're going to do is look at a couple different things. So this right over here that I'm circling, you can see here on the screen, that itself is considered the pie. This is where all of your stocks or ETFs, whatever you're buying, goes into. Now you can see that there's a couple different colors here all together, and then there's this one big one right over here. Now what that is all of the different slices in my pie. Pretty simple, right? So these slices are essentially all the different stocks that I own. You can even see here, they call them slices, and we're gonna go ahead and scroll down so you can see what they are. So right over here, you're gonna see I have a couple different slices, and as I hover over each one, they actually get highlighted on the actual overall pie. So that way you can see how much of the pie that one fund actually takes up. So it makes it a lot easier for you. If you go the other route, if you actually hover over here, it lightly covers which fund you are looking at as well, so you can kind of see them on both ends. Pretty cool. So that itself is what the pie is. And if you have, the funds that you can see here that I have, it'll show you here. You can have hundreds of different stocks in this, and it'll just kind of keep breaking them down into different colors and then building up on this pie. But that can be pretty complex. And, depending on the person and depending on who you are, you might want things to be a little bit more simple. Now, that's how I kind of like it, so I kind of want to start building my portfolio in that manner, which is why I wanted to make this video for you. And since I wanted to be doing it, I figured it would be best if I took you guys along the journey with me to go ahead and create these pies within pies. Now, these pies within pies are going to be split up into different sectors. Now, there are official sectors that you'll see and people talk about it in the news, but you can also create your own sectors, and I'll talk a little bit about that here in just a moment. Now, based on the companies that I currently have and the sectors I intend to get into, so I'm more diversified with my portfolio, I can make as many different types of miniature pies within my main pie. Now, if you look at the different stocks I have, I have, auto industry or tech, if you want to consider them tech. This is real estate or REITs. We have telecom, although I might personally put them in just tech for myself. And then we have Disney and Home Depot, which are more so considered consumer. So those are some of the different sectors that we can create today. And those are kind of common with what is out there and what they talk about. As I mentioned a little earlier, you can actually create your own type of pies that you prefer. So if you want to make a pie of, let's say, a thing called fast food restaurants, right? And then you can have Wendy's, you can have McDonald's, you can have all these different companies from their stocks into that pie into one. And I'll show you guys here in a second so you can make a little bit more sense of what we're talking about, but just giving you a broad idea of what you can do when it comes to making pies within pies. Okay, so now that I've kind of explained that, I want to more so show you, and I'm just verifying that you can see everything here on my screen because I want to zoom in as close as possible so you can get all the detailed information so you don't miss a step. Now, what we're gonna do is when you're on your main page here with M1 Finance, we're gonna go ahead and click this little spot up here that you can kind of see, and I'll highlight it. It says research. So we're gonna go ahead and click on that research button. And if you are, having another screen up or even doing this on your phone, you can kind of follow along with me, so you can do this at the same time, or you can do it afterwards as well. So once we click research, it takes us into this next screen. Now in this screen, you're gonna see a couple different spots right up here at the top that say market news, stock, funds, and then you'll see a thing that says My Pies. So that's what we're gonna wanna go ahead and click on. So we click on My Pies and it brings up this section right here. So in this section, you have a couple different things and we're gonna break them down. It says unused, right here, that's all it says. I felt like I was gonna say more, but it says you have no unused pies, and we'll show you what that populates with once we kind of go into the next section. And then right here it says used in a portfolio. So overall, right now we have my portfolio just named Dennis with the funds that I have, and now I want to create a pie within this pie. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this little button right over here that says create new pie. Pretty simple, right? Now, once we do that, it takes us into that stock screen. We're kind of familiar with this. This is normally where we go around to look for different companies. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go ahead and click on the company we already have, which is actually right here, Microsoft. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to add AT&T to the tech stock just because I want to consider it under tech, since I am not gonna do a lot of telecommunications by itself. So I went ahead and added both of these companies. Now, you can't really see it on the screen here, so I'm gonna just bump it up for just a moment. It's a long screen, huh? So right there, and you're gonna see this right here where it has the two different companies I added right there, and I check marked them. Now you're gonna see a button here that says add. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this, and it's loading here, and now I'm gonna zoom back up just a little bit, right over here. So now all of a sudden we have this new pie. It actually says new pie and has the date on there, which I guess is kind of nice if you just want to, lock it in really quick, and you might forget when you did it. So you'll see this new pie, and you'll see only two colors now, and you'll see two holdings there at the bottom, which it won't let me scroll, so I'll have to slide the actual screen here. So you'll see it's the AT&T and Microsoft. So now that we have both of those pies, both of those slices added into this new pie, I'm gonna go ahead and hit edit. Now here on the edit, I can actually change the name, and I'm just gonna put this as tech. Super simple and super easy. So I want both of these at 50% of this overall pie, and I'm gonna hit save. And now this has changed to tech. So it makes it a lot easier, and it's much more simpler to go. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and hit add to portfolio. So once I hit add to portfolio, it's gonna bump up right over here, and it's gonna add it to my overall portfolio. So now if you weren't ready to hit add to portfolio to make things super easy, let's say you backed up or you changed your mind on something and it brought you back to this screen, and you might be wondering, well, how do I get back into the portion to add that portfolio? Well, we're gonna go back into research. We're gonna go back into My Pies, and then right over here where that unused section is, now we're gonna see where it says tech, and we're gonna have the ability to add to portfolio. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on add to portfolio, and now all of a sudden I have the option to choose how much percentage I want for that stock. Now that sector I can have all together. Now I can bump it up to whatever percentage I want, and because I technically already own AT&T and Microsoft, I'm gonna take them away from there, which I will eventually move out of. So I do have to sell, which does create a taxable event, but because my portfolio is so small, I'm not gonna worry too much about that. Now, if you have a larger portfolio, this is something you definitely wanna take into consideration because it can create big taxable events. So you wanna make sure you are prepared for that. Because now I'm gonna have the text section here, I can actually go ahead and in the future add all of my tech into that specific pie. So that way, when I do have more that I want to add, it'll just go directly into there and it'll make things a lot simpler. So right here, you're going to see a thing that says slices at 0%. If you click on them, it does say each slice must have at least 1% allocation. So what that means is we actually have to completely remove these two so that way we can actually go ahead and go into the new stock and have the full 100%. So if you don't remove those, then it won't go through the process of actually removing the amounts from just the individual stocks and then into this pie. So this can be a little bit of a challenge if you already have a large portfolio, and then you would have to be selling and rebuying, which again would create a taxable event. So you want to keep that into mind. But if you have a very small portfolio, such as I do, this is a better time to get into it. So that way you don't have to deal with this down the road. And then all your new stocks, you can put them into each different semi-pie if you so chose to, instead of having it all into one. So now that we did all that, we're gonna go ahead and hit save, and then we're gonna go ahead and confirm. And now it says, are you sure you want to make these changes to your portfolio? Any removed slices will be sold during the next trading window. Proceeds will be reinvested into this pie. So what this is saying is it's going to go ahead and sell off the AT&T and the Microsoft stock, and then go ahead and rebuy them into the tech pie as well. So that way we still have ownership, but unfortunately it's gonna create that taxable event. With the numbers that we have now, it's not that big of a deal. So we're not gonna see a huge impact, but at least it gets us prepped and ready for the future when we wanna start adding more companies into this portfolio. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit confirm on this right over here. And once we load back up, now all of a sudden we have a tech pie. So instead of having Microsoft and AT&T separately, we have them now in one group, which you can actually see down over here. So right over here, we have the tech. And if we click on it, it's gonna show you the different companies we have. And of course, they're at 50 and 50% because we had pretty much an even amount for both originally. Now, as we add more tech companies into this down the road, what I'm gonna do is less and less are gonna go to those two companies, and then more of it's gonna go into the overall pie to split up between different companies. And then if we go back into our overall, now we wanna go ahead and make this same thing for the other pies. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually create the next one, which is a very common one. And I'm gonna go ahead here and create a new pie. And this is with NRZ, and this is our real estate stock. So I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the basket, and just like last time. So now I'm gonna go ahead and create this new pie. So I'm gonna hit edit here, and I'm gonna do real estate. So now it's real estate. Currently, NRZ is gonna have the full set of this pie. If I add more real estate companies, which I plan on doing in the future, they will go into this pie, so that way it'll be split up evenly. So now I'm gonna go back to the main page here. I'm gonna go to research, my pies, and you're gonna see the real estate. That one didn't get added to the portfolio. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add it. I'm gonna do the 5%, and then I'm gonna remove NRZ, just like we did with the other ones. And I'm gonna go ahead and save this one. So I'm gonna confirm. So again, now it's gonna also sell off NRZ, and it's gonna rebuy it. Hopefully it's gonna be within that same price cost, so I'm not gonna be losing much. I might lose a little bit, and like I mentioned, I'm gonna have to pay a little bit on taxes. Luckily, with the small dollar amounts I have with these, it's not gonna be a big deal, but it can be if you have a lot more invested with these different companies. The majority of this fund is with a Vanguard VOO fund. I plan on probably just leaving it as that. Okay, so now that we did those tech and the real estate, now we also have Tesla, Disney, and Home Depot left. So I'm gonna create another pie. So we're gonna go again to research my pies, create new pie. And here I'm going to add Home Depot. Let's add that one. And then we're gonna add Disney as well. And these are going to be in a consumer pie. So in the consumer pie, this one is going to be, consumer. So this one is gonna be 50-50 with these two different companies on there. And we're gonna go ahead and hit save for this one. And I can just add it to the portfolio right over here. So because of the two that I'm adding together, that one's gonna be 10%, as each one of those were 5%. So let's go ahead and remove those. hit save. And now we have a consumer one as well. And then all I have left is Tesla and Vanguard. Now I still have to make decisions on what I want to do exactly with Tesla and Vanguard S&P 500. I might end up moving them into sub pies as well. So that way everything is a little bit nicer looking altogether. So there's not just like random stocks all around. Now, you might be asking, well, what's the whole point of making sub pies? Like, why do you want to make a pie within a pie? Can't you just have everything together? And you can if you want to. And you, as you saw earlier, I actually had that as well. But there are some advantages to having stocks like this split up into different groups. One, you can see how certain sectors are doing and certain groups of stocks that you ideally would like to think that they're kind of in that same area of, business. So when we were putting together these pies, I'll just actually go ahead and recreate one of the pies. So go here, go to my pies, and then create a new pie. So we had Microsoft and Disney. I think Disney was down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys exactly what it kind of does. So right here, it actually shows you the overall performance of these in the last 5 years. You can go down to the last year and so on and so forth. But what it also does is once these are fully reinvested, it'll kind of do this for you in those subsections with just those funds together instead of your overall pie. So that will really help you out to identify maybe if there's kind of, a sinking ship within your, sectors that you might want to remove instead of looking at your overall portfolio. And what it also does too is here towards the bottom area, I'll have to kind of slide the screen up a little bit. It'll tell you, of course, how many holdings, which should be easy. There shouldn't be crazy amounts, but it'll also tell you the dividend yield of that particular sector or group of pies. And then also if there's any expense ratios, which if you're doing individual stocks, you should be pretty good on that. But it helps give you a nice breakdown. And that nice breakdown just makes things a lot easier for you if you are investing for the long term. So you have an idea of how each group is doing in the different sectors that you have. And of course, it is good to have different sectors like healthcare, tech, all these different groups, so that way you can be more diversified. So you got a lot of the common ones, but then again, you can make up your own if you want to. Like I mentioned earlier, you could do one with like fast food restaurants, you could do one for whatever groups, if you wanted to so choose to do it that way. So another great benefit of having pies within pies is, let's say that you want to invest $100. If you go into your overall pie here and you hit buy, and then you put $100 into your actual fund, that $100 will get dispersed into every single pie. But let's say for a certain time period, let's say, consumer stocks were down quite a bit and you want to take in on the advantage of those companies going down, well, you can click on that consumer pie and then just go ahead and buy within that pie in particular instead of everything else altogether. So that's a really cool way to kind of take advantage of certain things maybe not doing so well overall, instead of having to maybe manipulate the percentages temporarily, because that would be a little bit more of a tedious task than having these pies put into separate groups. So that way you can go ahead and kind of put those funds where you want them versus having to guesstimate where you're going to actually have that money put in once you put it into your overall pie. So that's one other really great advantage. I think it can go a long way for people who want to strategize long term. And as I mentioned, if you do this at the very beginning, when you just start investing with M1 Finance, you have no worries whatsoever because you're just getting started. So hopefully in the future, they will find a way to kind of maybe move these pies within pies without having to buy and resell. I think it would have been a much cooler idea to be able to do that automatically. And I don't honestly know why M1 Finance doesn't just do it that way. But overall, that is how you create pies within pies to have different sectors. I talked about the benefits of it. I, of course, talked about the disadvantage of having to go through this process, especially if you have an M1 Finance account with quite a bit of money in there. But that is hopefully a lot simpler and easier to understand in case you saw people online with these different sectors and how to actually get that done. Now, if you are wanting to get started with M1 Finance and haven't started your account already, I will go ahead and link up my referral down below. Now, that is an affiliate link, which means I do make a small commission, which actually helps produce more content like this for you guys. So that way I can keep sharing my thoughts and my experiences with M1 Finance. So I appreciate you guys using that link down below if you haven't already. So I want to hear from you if you are planning on creating these pies within pies, or if you are maybe too far gone when it comes to being able to do this because of those tax implications. Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button while you're down there and check out some of these other videos I have here on the channel. And if you made it this far into the video, make sure you hit that pie button down below. I mean subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.